Hey guys, I'm carrying on with my Lichess run, and I should clarify this is not a speed run as previously specified, because Lichess I've double checked on their fair play policy and terms, and there is a page that specifically prohibits speed runs. Okay, so for that reason, this will now be my only and main Lichess account. Oh, and I've just already blundered a pawn. Okay, so we had better start to focus. So I've put on a limited challenge. My opponent here is rated 1106 on Lichess, and I'm at 752. I've tried to make this, but this is the third time I've tried to record this today, because Lichess kept matching me with 1600 and 1800 rated players, which is not the point. Okay. Now, I do also have myself a hanging pawn here that I might grab, that my opponent has now defended. I can kick the knight away. No reason not to do that. So the idea here is that we're meant to be... We're not... What? Yes, you can have a take back. That was just ridiculous. Okay, right. Okay, they've gone to there and now blundered their queen. No, you can't have another. Okay, you can have another one. But that's it now. That's the last take back. All right. So don't put your queen there and don't put it there. You've got to save your knight. Alex Walker, Austria. Yes, the point of this, I'm not here to take the piss out of beginners. The point here is to help beginners by highlighting typical mistakes, and they've seen one. So now, again, I take the knight. He's failed to identify the key issue, which is that his knight is under threat. It's on prise. Okay, so first he went here and lost the knight. Then he went here and lost the queen, and not to that, but to that. And finally, he played this and lost his knight again, and now he's moved his queen away. Okay, so counting attackers and defenders, this is important. I think more so at maybe the 750 to 1000 range, but here I've got two defenders, king and rook. So I'm quite, no, you're done for takebacks now. That's just getting silly now. All right, so I'm not worried about this. Therefore, what am I going to do, right? Well, one idea is to stick my queen here and think about an immediate mating threat. But I know that if I do that, again, thinking what is my opponent's best response, he can just castle. So I want to keep principled. I don't want to throw my queen out. Let's develop the knight and just play normally. I'm up in material already because my opponent has blundered. My opponent has been absolutely determined to blunder as well. Right, we have, very important to tell the story. What's just changed? What's going on the board? Well, we have tension between the queens. Now I'm up in material. I could very happily trade queens right now. I could also develop my bishop. I could block the queen threat. I could develop my bishop to here. G4. That seems okay. Might just prompt my opponent to push a pawn, but then if he does that, he can't castle kingside. So let's do that move. Let's just try that. If white wants to capture here, that's fine for me. I actually get to improve my rook on the next turn. Right? Okay, so this is good. This pawn is now pinned for the same reason as that, you see. So now he can't kick my bishop. He could play h3 and try and kick my bishop. That'd be fine. Got one attacker on here, but it's defended once. So what should we do now? Now I want to improve by centralizing my rooks. So I think like queen d6, something like this, yeah? And again, if white wants to trade, I can capture towards the center with the pawn. If white doesn't want to trade, I'll just play rook a to d8. I'm waiting for him to ask for a take back on that because he's just blundered his queen again. Now this player is down at 1106. I think we'll just take the queen and have done with it. Okay, right. So this is 1106 question mark, which could mean anything. So I'm going to play my knight to here. Am I, in fact, So if I go there, I could drop this pawn, but then I attack the bishop. Yeah, that's okay. So that's not beginner thinking. Okay, so here he's walked straight into a fork. But first, I'm going to threaten the bishop because there's no reason to drop this pawn. And this pawn's going nowhere, and these rooks aren't going anywhere either. So I know that I can always capture there. Now, what he should have done is actually drop his bishop out to here and defend that pawn. But he didn't do that, so he's going to lose a rook now. This pawn's still pinned. Which rook do I want? Let's have this rook. I can always come back and attack this rook again on the next move. Alright, so now he's having a poke at my bishop. So let's drop the bishop back, propose a trade of bishops. I'm up in material. And this bishop is now undefended. So very basic issue. He's playing a 10-minute game. And he's simply not using that time. He's got... offers a draw. Okay, I'll draw. We'll do a draw. We'll play again. We'll play a rematch. Okay? And we'll see if he does the same things. Alright. He doesn't want a rematch. He does want a rematch. Okay. Right, again, we're going to play very principled. So what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and develop quickly. Try not to get distracted from development. I'm going to resist... Ooh, the Petrov, huh? Really? Okay, well, like I said, I'm going to resist tactical opportunities. So, "5 seconds he's used, and he blunders a piece. I don't know what more I can do. Okay, there's a hanging pawn there, but we're not going to worry about that. We're going to develop our pieces. Okay, I'm going to give him some slack here. I'm going to get my knight out. Okay, that's not a threat. Queen can take the knight, but then pawn takes queen, or queen takes queen, and happy days. So, a couple of ideas. I could bring my bishop out here, where it's defended by the knight, and hit the queen. But I think let's stick to our intentions and develop. So often you can just wait for your opponent to mess up. I would say that I don't know. I'm going to say sub 1000, but I think as a principle it carries on as far as I've got at 1630 whatever on chess.com rapid rating. That allowing your opponent to mess up and to make the first mistake is quite important. Though just not so important, but effective, right? Especially at this level. So one of the things that you can do when you're playing is to think about focus on not making a mistake, and actually inhibiting what your opponent wants to do and making sure you don't mess up on your moves and you don't hang pieces and you don't walk into one move tactics, can be all you need, literally all you need to walk away with games. You don't need to do really, really clever stuff. So here I see this already. And this is, 750 to 1000 level thinking. And my opponent here in chess.com terms is playing like a 500, I would guess. So I see I can improve my knight to here, attack both the queen and c7. And c7 comes with a fork on king and rook. And the reason I know that is because I've seen it in 1000 games or more. Another thing I see is bishop g5 hits the queen, it's defended by the knight. Now, if I do this, the queen has to go either to here or to here to defend this pawn. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to develop my bishop. Where do I want to develop my bishop? Let's put her on G5. Him. This is a male bishop. Now the queen has to move. The first thing my opponent should see is my queen is now under attack. Okay, this is playable. Then if I capture, the only piece I can capture with is my queen. Okay, that's also fine. Absolutely fine. But the problem now is that the queen now cannot get there to defend this pawn. She'll have to go there to defend it if I do this. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get my queen off the back rank, and I'm going to castle my king. And I think I'm going to castle long. And the reason is because we have a semi-open d file. My d pawn is gone. It's off the board. And so having my queen and a rook on this semi-open d file would be a good thing. The other thing that I noticed, and it's slightly more advanced, is that the bishop, my opponent's only developed bishop, because this one's stuck, right? Because he's dicking about with his queen instead of developing his minor pieces, which is what he should be doing. His only developed bishop is pointing here, which is inert and safe, and he's pointing here. So where do I want to put my king? I've got a choice of this square or this square, right? 1, 2. Okay, and that's a queen blunder. He's put his queen on an undefended square. So let's finish this off. We're not doing take-backs now. We're going to find a new opponent and try a different game. Because, I mean, how long did he think about it? He thought about that for a minute and a half and then went, I'm going to throw a check. But there's two problems with it. Not only is he putting his queen on a protected square, which is mega dumb, but I've got... Okay, he can have it. Oh, okay, he's abandoned that one. Well, let's do a new opponent and see what we get. But I had like probably 5 or 6 different ways to block that check. So those completely premature and inappropriate attacks. Okay, now it's given me an 1830. Again, why? Why are we doing that? Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to play normal. Now let's try playing normal, and let's try not making mistakes. Let's play Italian game against an 1830 rated opponent who thinks I'm rated 752, which of course I am, because this is my account. This pawn is undefended. I could defend it with d3, which is kind of slow. I could defend it with knight c3. Let's play knight c3. If we play that Italian 4 knights, then he's actually got this tactic of taking their knight takes back and then d5 with a pawn fork. So let's not do that. Let's not get into all that messing about. Simple pawn chain. Take life easy. Take it. Now he's either got to bring his queen out or he's got to move his knight a second time. He's moved his knight a second time. Now I'm going to develop my bishop. I think this looks okay. So where do I want to put my bishop? If I push it here, maybe f6 to block, which suits me just fine. Maybe the knight might retreat, which suits me just fine. But he might also just play bishop e7. So why do I want to allow my opponent to develop? And then we trade off, and I've burned 2 bishop moves, and he's burned 1. And he gets his queen off the back rank. So there's no benefit in that. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and castle my king, I think. Why not do that? Knight c3 is a possibility. If he takes, I recapture with the b-pawn. That's all fine. This guy's playing very quickly, and he's just blundered a knight. No, not doing takebacks. Cancelled his takeback. Alright, I'm tempted to drop my bishop back to safety, but it's not an immediate threat. It's not under threat right now. Let's develop the knight, defends the bish. Now he's probably thinking that I can double down and go into challenge mode and beat this chump. So, let's do it. I still like this, just generally. I do like to put my pieces on defended squares where possible, because I'm, can be a bit slow. I'll bite. I'll take that. Pawn takes. I'm going to move my knight here. Okay, so I can put my knight there. It's on a defended square. It's in the middle of the board. All good. It's hitting the bishop. That's good too. Okay, I'll have that as well. That's fine. Okay, so he's got queen here, check. I move to there. Oh! Ah, yeah! I undefended my bishop when I did that. So that was an interesting tactic by my opponent, right? I take... Ah, very clever. But he's still down a piece for a pawn. So, what do we do? I'd love to put my queen there. I can't because we've just swapped queens. So, what do we have? We have bishop out here. I want to put my queen on there or something. So let's think about putting the queen here. Black has no dark squared bishop now, so the dark squares are relatively safe from high-speed, long-range attacks. Okay, he's having a poke at that pawn. I'm going to push. I'm up in material, so exchanges do not scare me. If pawn takes, I might take the b-pawn. Means I'll get an isolated pawn here, or I can take with the knight, but I like the knight in the middle of the board. Right, and queen can't take because it's still defended by the knight. And then I might, put my bishop here, maybe defend it with a rook, push his pawn forward, and start to have thoughts about g7. Let's fantasize about g7. Queen here, stick it on a dark square. The only piece in fact, I want all my pieces on dark squares, and I'll tell you for why. My opponent has no knights. My opponent has one bishop left, because he's being a bit gung-ho. Right, so if my knight goes onto a dark square, and his only bishop is a light square bishop that must therefore always and only dwell on light squares, then A, my knight that's on a dark square cannot be harassed by the bish, and B, my knight is controlling squares of the opposite colour, which is what knights do. What's your game? What's that about, eh? What's that about? I'm going to dodge. I wanted to put my queen on g3 anyway. You ain't going to take that. You ain't going to take that. I can now push c4, where I threaten mate. I may also, after pushing c4, put my knight here with check. But I think I'll keep that one in my pocket. Okay, I'm just going to push that. This is a trap, because I obviously have mate in one. If, Oh, that's a decent move. That is a decent move. So I have to get out of check. I've got two ways. Block with a queen or run away. Whichever happens, he gets the knight. So good tactic. I think run away. He takes the knight. We're not in too bad a shape, are we? He's a pawn up right now. I can take that, or I can just push on. Let's push on and try and block this bishop's path up the board. And again, if I do that, we are still threatened. Oh, okay. I'm going to move this rook. I'm going to move this rook and defend the pawn. Again, I want to put my other rook on a dark square. Attack this pawn. Huh. What's his idea? Rook here, rook there, mate? Is that the plan? If I go here, he can't. If he moves his rook, we trade queens. I'm happy for that. We can have a go at that. We'll play that one. Rook there, take his queen off. Then rook takes. And he didn't mess up his pawns too much, but we're okay. We're all good. Alrighty. Okay, I'm going to put my rook on a dark square there. If he takes, that's okay. How do we feel about that move? Or this move to defend the pawn? So clearly he doesn't fancy trading 2 rooks for a queen and a pawn. It's equal material, but it's actually probably slightly better for me if that happens. I'm thinking I want to stick my queen here. Just line it up with that. I could even put my rook here, rooks, something like that. Again, trying to keep stuff on dark squares. Alright. I can just run away from this. If he checks me, I'll go here. You can't force this through, because that pawn is defended by a rook. Okay, now he's covered that square, which is sensible. So now this is actually mate. So I have to do something about that. And I can't do something like grab the pawn. The only thing I can do is this. If I do that, pawn takes, rook takes, that's unpleasant. I can't force an exchange of queens either, so it looks like I'm getting outsmarted here. I could sack my queen for the rook, but that's a bit silly. I'm going to have to play this move. There's nothing else for it. And if he takes, I'll just probably stick my pawn here. Kick my king there. If he takes again, king takes. I'm kind of okay. I'm also threatening this as well with a potential snap mate if my opponent gets too cocky. But no, he has that. Of course he does. Right. But I'm not in check, so... I mean, I could check him here, but then queen takes. So we can resign that quite happily, I think. Right, and let us... I'm going to create a game now. I don't want to play 1800s again. Lichess seems to have decided that 1700s and 1800s is my correct level. Okay, so I'm going to, create game. Minus 50 to plus 100, let's do it. So it doesn't keep matching me with experts. Okay, and I'm still on 752, so apparently I lost no rating points at all. My opponent here is 1300. So even though I specified minus 50 to plus 100, apparently it thinks this is fine. And let's see what opponent Puranik Piyush wants to do. Do you want to play or do you want to bail? You're bailing. Okay, I'm not just going to play new opponent. I'm going to go back to create a game. Okay, standard rating range. Okay. See if we get lucky. But there were some good tactics by my opponent in that game. Alright. And we're playing e4 in every game. This now is giving me a 1374, so Lichess doesn't seem to be following its own settings whatsoever. 1374 is maybe like 1000 kind of thing. I'm going to play Vienna game. Just because I haven't played one in a while. Go on, Vienna Gambit, why not? Let's keep things interesting. So yeah, Lichess doesn't seem to be very good at matching me with the correct... I actually know what to do here. You take the pawn. If knight takes, we get the Halloween variation. We get to chase the knights around. So, right, we're down a pawn each, but he's going to have problems because he's going to have to go back there. Now what I then should do is play e5, but I'm not going to do that because it breaks our rules. So his knight's going to come... Okay, well that actually hangs a piece, doesn't it? So now I can develop my bishop with tempo. Well, not with tempo, with a blooming capture. Alright, now you can't come and take that. So I'm going to develop my knight. I'm going to get ready to castle. Put my rook on the f-file because there ain't no Freddy. Also develop my bishop to here, then push e5. Okay, yeah, two attackers. Get it? Now if I let him take my knight, it's going to mess up my pawns a bit. But I don't mind. I might also get to put my rook here and pin the knight. So he really should capture now. But he's down a knight for a pawn already, which ain't great. Also, actually, if he captures now... No, I do have to take back because then he's hitting my queen, isn't he? And he's resigned. Oh well, let's take new opponent in that case. Chess.com, I think, tries a bit harder to match you with people at your own rating. Why Lichess isn't doing that, I'm not quite sure. Apparently 92,000 people online right now. And 1646 maybe. Ho ho, let's see. And why am I still on 752? Why does it still say 752? Well, I'll take that. And it seems like my opponent isn't interested in this game either. So, not a very fruitful... oh, there we go. Alright then. I'm playing e5 like I always do. At least on this video series. Okay. I'll bring my knight out. And a relopez. Ho ho. Okay. I will kick the bishop. Put the question to the bishop. What are you going to do? Exchange or retreat? Okay. Let's develop. This bishop has a free path out into the board, and that's a great square for it to go on. Looking at f2. I'll probably want to castle my king. Okay, does this mean that you want to push that? Push, takes, my bishop retreats. It's fine. I'm going to castle. Is this the Berlin defense? I'm not sure with the knight there. Not entirely sure. Right, let's push d6 now. Prepare to get this bishop out here, or even here, with a pin on the knight. Okay, he doesn't want the pin on the knight, obviously. So, I don't really want to put my bishop here, because I could kick his bishop back there, but I don't want to take and allow him to capture there. But then my bishop can't go here or here, so it's only got a choice of two squares, unless I fianchetto and put him on that diagonal. But I can't push this pawn now because it hangs the knight. So let's, no, before we think about moving on, I'll put the bishop here. Then I can move the knight round. And if he wants to trade off, that's actually slightly bad for him. He loses like half a tempo. Because, as we said before, he's spent one move, two moves. I've spent one move, two moves, but then I have a piece off the back rank that he doesn't because he's lost his bishop, you see. Now he's invested move number 2 in his bishop. He's still got 2 pieces to develop, and he's on move 9 of the game. Might even have ideas about sacking my bishop to win that pawn. Might be possible. So I'm going to put my bishop here and my queen behind it, just so I can connect my rooks, because it's principled. I could have just stuck my queen on c8 there, and gone straight in. But then we have to think it through, okay? Takes, queen takes, boom. Knight wants to jump straight in. He's going to have to do something. Right, I don't want to allow the pawn to come here, so I have to take the pawn. Ooh. Ha, now, again, E. If I drop my bishop back, look where I've put my knight and my bishop. That's not ideal. Say I drop my bishop back, he's just going to push this. And we don't want that, do we, precious? So how about, I'm going to sack my bishop first and threaten to take here and take the rook. So I think he has to capture this guy first, right? This is stuff that can happen when you play openings you don't know against somebody rated 1600-ish. Okay, now I can save my bishop and my knight. So I've sacked my bishop, which was my plan all along. Let's put the bishop here is okay. Got 2 attackers, 2 defenders, so capturing the pawn wasn't really an option. Still going to put my queen here and come in, reinforce with the knight. And then if I can remove that guy, there might be checkmating ideas, but we'll see. My opponent is now up a bishop for a pawn. I'm going to put my queen there anyway. Hits this pawn. It creates a problem for my opponent, something he's got to resolve. Can't defend with the bishop. That bishop can't get through. Obviously this bishop's the wrong colour. He could push the pawn. But if he pushes the pawn, I also have check here with the queen. Right, now I want to use my dark squared bishop. But I can't right now. 1 attacker, 1 defender. So I think what I need to do is reroute this knight round to here, this side of the board, shift my pawns out of the way, stick my bishop on c7, line it up with the king, and maybe think about that kind of thing. That's an annoyance. If I go here, he can't really hassle me again, can he? I've always got g6 if I need it. I can play f6 now and kick the bishop away. Don't think he's going to want to trade his bishop off now. Still, this is kind of the plan. Get the bishop on c7, on the diagonal that the king's on. That f6 move doesn't bother me. Okay, so now that's a discovered attack by the queen. And I can play g6 if I want to. Also takes his square away from the knight. So he's got no pawn on the g-file. So my knight's actually on an outpost. It's not a very good outpost, because he's out in no man's land. However, I can push my pawn and harass the bishop, get rid of the bishop. I can still do this idea. Right, now he wants to trade queens. How do we feel about that? He wants to trade queens and reconnect these 2 pawns, so I don't think I want to allow that. I can't go here or here because of the knight. I can go here, which is okay. I'm down in material, so trading isn't a good thing for me right now. Let's push. He might be prompted to push this pawn, which I don't think would be ideal. We could have 1 attacker on there, it's defended once. I really don't know why my rating hasn't changed there. Oh, that's an interesting move. So I only have 1 good square, I think, that I can see. Covered, 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 covered. Can't take that. This pawn's hanging. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Damn. That's not good. Now where does my rook go to safety? Can't go there or there or there. That's annoying. I have to put my rook here now. Obviously not a great chess day for me today. Still want to push this, even though I can give up a pawn. Okay, he's x-raying this pawn. That's undefended. Let's grab that pawn. Can't see any reason not to. Nope, no reason. Also means I've got a slight barrage. If this rook moves, then I can capture on there. But I'm now 2 pieces down for 2 pawns. I also have a check. And this bishop's undefended. So that would actually win material, I do believe. You know, I believe it might. Now the knight's... Okay, that's defending the bishop. That's a pesky move as well. So what I do is I now move my king out of the pin. So this pawn is now no longer pinned. But if I take the knight, queen takes there, but then... Ah! Well, very resignable. Lichess, give me a beginner. One for the road. This is the last game. $1,400. What's going on with this? And I'm still on 752. My rating literally has not changed. Okay, right, I'm going Danish Gambit now. I'm in a bad mood now. This guy hasn't got a question mark after his rating, so he probably is around 1400. If pawn takes, you recapture with that. I'm loving the Danish Gambit. And we recapture. Now we have the twin bishops of Doom. Yeah, that's not the ideal move. It's just undefended g7. Okay. So he's threatening to take the pawn with check, and the knight's pinned so it can't recapture. So what do we do here? I think just maybe develop. That's the principle. That's the principle I've been working with. And you can take the pawn for free. I'll just dodge here. Now this knight is no longer pinned, so I can recapture there. Now what he should do, if he takes there, I have to recapture with the other knight to continue to defend that bishop, you see. Well spotted, Hunty. Now I've got 1, 2, 3 pieces out on the board. He's got only a queen. He's up 3 pawns, so now I might do something like this. And okay, that's not bad. I go here. Defends this pawn, defends that bishop again, but more than... Oh, I'm also threatening this. I meant to threaten f7. So clearly, the brain's not 100% on. Got rook e8 check, e1 check. Haha. Go here, threaten to capture on there with the queen. Forces the king there, and then I think that's mate. So we can't allow that. Get you with all your pawns. Now that's simply an error because I've actually got 2 attackers on that knight. He's missed my long-range bishop, so we are now equal. And I'm now hitting your rook, so that's going to have to move. And next I can... Ooh! Wow, okay. So he's castled out of that threat. If I can capture that pawn with a knight, which I can't easily do, then that rook you see is stuck at this moment in time. Okay, this pawn here is pinned. I think the only right thing to do is to throw pawns at him. I want to bust open this king and use the power of my evil bishops. He's already weakened. So these dark squares are weak and the king can't actually move right now. The king is totally trapped. What are you trying to do with your bishop then? He's just thinking I want to develop. He wants to put his bishop here. I bet. Which doesn't bother me too much. I'm just going to carry on. Carry on with my own plan. Okay. So he's gone there, is he? Is the plan to take that with your bishop? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to open up the h file for my rook anyway. If this pawn takes, I actually have a mate with the rook. So pawn can't take. Bishop must take. All right. And now I want to put my knight in there, which means here. How do I get there? Not quickly is the answer. Alright, but let's start making forward progress with the knight. There, I can even... No, I can't really threaten the pawn. Can't go there or there very easily. Well, let's think about lifting the rook off. Something like this, maybe. This is fine. I can always drop my bishop back to there if he plays b5. I can also put my bishop here and pin his knight. And how are you going to defend that? You can't even defend it. Oh no, your knight. And you can't counterattack my rook either. Oh dear, that's terrible. But it does mean giving up my awesome pair of bishops. But then it's a rook. You know, what do you do? Take the stuff. I've got 3 pawns left to my name. But if we trade off that, he's going to have a rook, a knight and a bishop. I'm going to have... Oh. So I'm going to get a free knight anyway, right? Then if he takes... Hang on. I get a knight, he trades rooks. I take this rook and he's still got a rook hanging. I think we're okay. There's no real reason... See, if I take here, his rook takes, again, blam. Same thing. It's the same either way, I think. And he's in check now. So he has to recapture with the rook, and then I'm going to win the knight. And I keep my bishop pair. Huzzah! So I'm now up in material, plus my opponent here has exchanged off more stuff than he really needed to. Where does this bishop want to go? Ideally somewhere where it's defended, so how about this? There are the knights looking after it. Now he may come after my knight, but that's not possible. He may play that, and that's not possible. So my knight's safe for the time being, defended by a pawn. Okay, it's not too scary. Don't get it. Got a check here. The rook's also defending the knight. I'm up in material. I'll take back the rook. If he checks, I come round. If he goes here, he's attacking one pawn. My bishop comes back to defend that pawn. King's still quite hampered. If I can get my rook on the back rank, I've got mate. Defend it. Rook here, bishop still defended, threatens mate. And quite a stylish one at that, so we'll see what happens. Still on, mate. Did a whole session with the breakthrough group in Chess Bootcamp yesterday on checkmates. Goes here. Okay, so this is now his plan. He wants to do that. But I actually have that defended by the bishop, and lo and behold, it's checkmate. Isn't it? It certainly is. That's a nice checkmate. Defended by the bishop there. That was pretty interesting. Anyway, so yeah, odd session on the old Lichess. And again, my rating doesn't seem to have changed at all. I don't want a rematch, I don't think, but for some reason, my my rating isn't changing at all. But I don't mind. I'll stay at 752. As long as it's interesting for you, as long as you're picking up one or two things, I'm quite happy about that. So that's it for today, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.